Hello and welcome to Spin a Good Yarn. This is a different kind of video for me, but I really wanted to show you my 2026 knitting journal. I'm using the Hobonichi Techo 2026 as my knitting journal. I just thought I'd do a bit of a flip through and show you how I'm setting up for the year. So this is my cover page. I just have a few stickers in this side that I really enjoyed, and I love these two so much. And then I have this little lamb sticker that I just thought was so cute. I'm not sure if I'm going to be using these pages, which is the kind of year at a glance, along with next year and the year before. But I am going to be using the next few pages, which is my stash tracker. So what I'm going to be doing in these pages is recording everything that came in and everything that came out in 2 columns. I've yet to mark them up on these pages. But December, you can see I had lots because I had my advent, and I also got 3 different new yarns for Christmas. And then I'm starting the year with 38.2 skeins, 100 gram skeins of yarn. Before, just because I thought it was interesting because there's so much that came in December. Before like December's purchases came through, it was just about 30. So just thought that was interesting. And then I'm going to be tracking the total for each month throughout the year. I've just gone ahead and set up those pages all the way through. And then I am going to be using the monthly spreads as my project trackers. So I had a little bit of experimentation as to what was going to work, and I started by writing like all current whips out, but that became quite messy. So I think what I'm going to do is like colour code my whips down the bottom and then mark whether I've worked on them or not. And I do have some stamps coming that I think I'm going to use to mark like if I've actually worked on something in a given day, or if I've cast it on, or if I've finished it. But that's been kind of what's working through December for me. And again, those are all set up through to the end of the year. Then this spread is probably my messiest spread. I kind of wish I'd kept this a bit simpler, but it is what it is. And this is my making plans and goals for the year. So I'll just tell you what they all are. I think it's kind of interesting to know. So I really want to finish 3 projects using stash yarn before I buy new yarn for a new project. I want to knit 3 projects from knitting books or magazines. I really want to remake my shell tee. Tom shrunk it in the wash and I'm devastated about it still, to be honest. I really want to remake that one. I want to spin to knit an Andrea Mowry shawl. I want to visit 3 new to me yarn stores. I did this with Fibre Festivals last year and I had such a good time. I want to knit a project with a new to me technique, which this should be an easy tick off, right? But I think it's good to keep challenging myself. And then number 7 is probably the goal I think is the hardest to achieve, and that is to spin up 50 grams of fibre a month. If it was in a year, that wouldn't be a problem at all, but 50 grams a month is going to be tricky. I don't necessarily spin every month, and I really want to. So that is goal number 7. Then I want to complete a project using, or at least start to knit a project using my 2025 advent. I think it'd be good to have that on the go this year. And I really want to go to a Spinners and Weavers Guild meeting. I'm super excited. And Tom's going to have wit on that day so that I can go. So yes, fingers crossed I will go and do that. And then I'm going to be using the daily spreads as my maker's journal. So I've set up January with some information that I think I'm probably going to keep the same in each month. So I have a little bit of a photo spread, a little bit of inspo for the month. And then up here, I'm actually really excitingly going to be doing a breed study this year with my spinning. So I'm going to have like what the breed of sheep is. I might put in the Fleece and Fibre source book, like which pages it is to remind me, and I might stick in a lock as well. We'll see how that goes, as they are, I think they're potentially coming all carded. Then I have my whips here. It's the 31st today, so I know that these will be carrying on. So I have the chunky Moulin cardigan and my booknote socks. And then in the knitting plan section, I've just included anything I think I would probably like to cast on in the month. So I have the tuku sweater, which is this one here, and I also have some scrappy quilt socks, which I'll just do as a vanilla sock by Tiny Human Knits. And then each day, I've kept this fairly open. I think I need to use this a bit before I decide exactly what this will look like every day. but I know I do want to track whether I knit, spin or sew every day. And then this will be a space for any project reflections. I suspect like when I spin up my yarn, I will do some breathe study page or pages. When I finish a project, I might do some project pages. So it's not necessarily like I have to have the first on the first, but it's a chance to record my making through the main part of this journal. Then at the end of the Hobonichi, you have a few spare pages. So I've really utilised those. I'm really proud of how well I've managed to use these pages. So this is my index page, which just shows what we have in the pages ahead. So the first thing I have is my stash. So this is all of my full skeins of yarn that I have in stash going into 2026. You'll see there's a few that I have actually already ticked off. This is partly because I've been experimenting in this journal since December, so I decided to include the full amount, which was five originally of these 2 yarns, but I have actually used 2 up before we got started. That is recorded in the stash tracker here, so I will still have an accurate depiction of my stash from this number, but I just wanted to have the visual and to be able to finish making that before January 1st. So yes, this is all of my whole skeins of yarn, and I will mark them off with my little stickers as I go, and then back here I have some gold stars that I will place over them once they're done. Then I did a really good effort of using up my scraps in my stash. So this is the only scraps I have in stash. These are leftovers from my Christmas jumper, and these are sock minis that I've made up for myself for heels, toes and cuffs. So I'll mark off if I use any of those. And then it might not be able to see the colours here, the pictures are quite small, but this is my 2025 Creative Anarchy Grim Tidings Advent, and I've just included a little box for each skein that I use up. And then this smaller one here is my fibre stash. I don't have half as much fibre in stash. I span through everything I owned in Tour de Fleece this year, so this is what I've acquired and not yet spun up since. Again, I will cross those off when I go. Then this page here is my wish list, and I normally keep this on my phone, so I think it'd be nice to have an analogue version. But what I do is, as I go through the month, if there's anything that I think I want, like spinning or knitting wise, I'll write it down and I try and come back to it 30 days later and then decide whether or not I actually still want to buy that object. And where I do, I have these 2 pages for acquisitions. So I'm gonna, again, similarly to my stash, I'm going to print little photos out of anything that I do buy across the year, and I'm hoping that having just 2 pages will help me limit how much comes in, because I'd like to have this be yarn and notions. And then these 2 pages, I think this is so cute. I have a frog pond, so if anything does get frogged, I will record it in my frog pond. I still will count that as meters knitted. We'll show that's something I'm tracking further down the line, but this will be helpful, I think, for my stash totals. And then here I have my hibernating whips, and this is just anything that I have been working on and have not used for a little minute or 2. So I have the Flirty, which I last worked on in August, and my Seasons cardigan, which I last worked on in November. And I know that's really not that long ago, like it has only really been a month, and I put it down because of my Christmas jumper, but I usually knit through things quite consistently, and the fact I've cast on a new jumper instead of picking that one up, I think means it's now hibernating. Then this page I'm using for my new skills acquired. I loved tracking this in my Maker's Journal on Notion last year, and it's just a way for me to challenge myself to use new skills, whether that's spinning, sewing or knitting. I haven't put much any sewing actually in here other than just my daily trackers, as I haven't really got many sewing aims this year, but we'll see how that progresses. But this would be where I'd record anything new that I learn. And then this one is wardrobe gaps. So this can be either things that I have fast fashion versions of that are getting towards the end of their life and I'd like to kind of upgrade and do something handmade. Or this can be things that I'm spying, like either in the fashion sphere or on like Pinterest, Instagram, that I keep going back to. So the only thing I've written down so far that I know from the last 2 years really is I need some kind of like basic striped sweater or cardigan. I have a cardigan and a sweater that are black and white striped, and I wear them all the time, that are just fast fashion ones. So I'd really like to upgrade those to some hand knits. Then there are actually some charts built into the Hobonichi, but I needed a few more. So these ones are my YouTube trackers. So the first one is just a sense of how much I'm making in terms of YouTube. So I have views per month here, and I've gone between 1 and 4K. I don't think I'll have more than that. And how many videos I've uploaded, so again between 1 and 4. So this is kind of like how much is been made for every month down the bottom, and just kind of like what's the response been like. And I think that's fun to see overall. YouTube really likes to focus on the last 28 days in your stats. I don't know whether anyone else finds that who makes videos, but I really wanted to look at the year. And then I have a box here for my favourite video of the year. So when the year's out, I'll fill that one in. And then here I just wanted to track subscribers. I'm at about 1,000 now. So I think like the highest I could imagine I'd get to is 4,000 this next year. And again, I just want to record that over the month. I think that'd be fun. And then I also thought I would be interested in where people find the channel. So the two most common are browse and suggested videos. So I'd be curious to see how that's split. And then again, how my viewers are split, subscribed versus non-subscribed. I think at the moment, 68% of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. So if you want to subscribe, that would be lovely. That would be a really cool thing. It does make a difference to me in the channel. It helps people find the channel. So yeah, I thought that would be a fun thing to track. And then the last two that I have is this one here, which is the Soft Summer palette. And I think I'm a soft summer from my kind of self-typing. So these colours here, I printed out using my Canon mini printer, and these are the colours that suit me best. I've just put a few descriptors around there. I do actually have a colour card that I carry in my wallet and use to buy yarn and clothes. So I do have that one too, but this has got a few more colours in this section, and it just helps me to pick the kind of colours in projects when I'm working through projects. And then this one here is just a tracker of that stash challenge that I mentioned about knitting up 3 projects using stash yarn before I buy one. That just gives me somewhere to record which projects I finished, and then a little like probably gold star when I finish 3 to say that I can buy something new. Then I don't know if I'm going to use the timetable. Maybe I might use it for something YouTubey, not sure yet. And then the other 2 graphs that I mentioned are these 2. So these are probably my most important graphs, which is why they got the like actual graph section. And this is how many meters I've knit per month and how many meters I've spun per month. So again, January through December, and from my stats from last year, 5,000 should be the most. So that's how I've plotted that one out. And then down the bottom, I have a measure of my total meters yet knit in the year. And I'm saving these spaces here because I think it'd be kind of cool in December to like figure out how much that is. Like, is it the height of a mountain? Is it, I don't know, the width of a lake or whatever? Like, I think that'd be really cool to have like a little descriptor. And with spinning, I actually haven't recorded it because this last year, like Tour de Fleece was loads and everything else was really low. So I haven't put my numbers in yet. I think I need to have a few months to see how much I've actually spun before I start filling that one in. And then my favourites pages, I think there's 36 entries, I'm going to be using as pattern reviews. So my plan is to pop some washi tape over these sections here, and then probably using my label printer, just print out the pattern that I made. I want to have this be recording whether it was new to me or whether it was a pattern I've made before, and then I will rank it out of 5 and just write anything down about the pattern, whether I liked it, whether I would knit it again, whether there's any modifications, just in this little space here. I've just recorded that for the next 2 pages as well. Then the My 100 list I'm using as a media tracker whilst I'm making. So I watch a lot of stuff and I'm currently reading a lot whilst I'm making. So I thought it'd be fun to have a space to record that. So I'm going to record any films that I watch, potentially programs too, but I think the idea was mostly films because I think it'd be kind of cool to try and watch 50 this year whilst I'm knitting and record that there. And then here I want to record what I've read whilst I'm making on this side. I think that'll be really fun. Then this section, which is like a little bit of a section about memories, I've turned into like a Yarny events tracker. So I want to have any fibre festivals or any like other Yarny events here. And then I want to include the yarn stores that I visit over the year here. And I think I might like tally them up because I think it'd be kind of fun to see like how often I go to my local yarn store. And I don't know whether I might use this as some kind of financial tracker, but I haven't figured that one out yet. Then the standard pages, I haven't written anything over yet, but I might do. But I have done some bits in the note to self section. I think that's what this one was called. So my maker's notes, I used loads last year on Notion. So this is just a copy of my maker's notes. It has my vanilla sock recipe, my husband's vanilla sock, my own measurements, which way I spin my singles and my plies. I really struggled to keep this in my head, so having it written down is good. And then like broad quantities of how much of each kind of yarn I need for a sweater quantity. So yeah, that's good to have that all there. And then my key techniques page, I just have a few things that I Google like every time I do them. So I have grafting, I even wrote it wrong, which is why I always look it up. So anyway, it's fine. And then I have make one left, make one right. And all of these are Italian bind off. So this is the setup here. And that's actually how it's worked down below. Some little diagrams to help me. And then the last one I'm planning on using for making is this one, which is my 365. And I'm just planning on colouring these in if I've made anything in the day, and there's no priority, it can just be like anything creative. This is just a creativity tracker to see whether I can do something creative every day. So yeah, and then I'm not using any of those other pages, and this is just what the back looks like here. These girl stickers are so lovely, and this one is a business card for my illustrations on Etsy, who I've got some amazing stickers that I'm going to be using this year from. Yeah, so that is everything in my 2026 knitting journal. Hopefully it's been fun to just look at this flip through, and I'd love to know in the comments down below if you track your knitting in any way. Like, do you use Ravelry? Do you use Notion? Are you a journaler? Do you just fly by the seat of your pants? I'd love to know, and I'll see you guys again soon in my next video.